Well, hi. Now we're inside what will be the Indian Gallery. We hope to open it sometime this fall, maybe around Thanksgiving. We've got a collection of all kinds of Indian things in here, and it's called the Native American Gallery. And we hope to be able to do some broadcasting and stuff from in here too. But anyway, this is a story that I did yesterday on the radio, and now I'm trying to do it for the first time here at Earth Mother Health Foods. The name of the story is Mary, Edna, Maude. I was paying some bills the other day, and I noticed August the 16th was a due date. I just stopped and looked at that date. It reminded me of an event that took place in 1900. Can you imagine that? A person that day made a big impact on my entire life. That day would have been Mary Edna Maude's 119th birthday. That would have been yesterday. She passed away, and I'm sure she waltzed into the arms of Jack Davis, her late husband, on New Year's Eve. She was 96, and that was in 1996. Now, this lady and I had a lot in common. We shared the same last name. She was my Aunt Maude. Maude was my daddy's oldest sister. She, along with her brothers and sisters, were the children of a sharecropper. Now, you know what a sharecropper is? Some people don't. A sharecropper was a name carried by some hired hands on someone else's farm. They usually lived in a modest house that belonged to the property owner. Their living quarters, they had got their living quarters, a modest house, and sometimes a portion of the profits from the farmer's crop. That's why it made them work harder when they were working for her as a sharecropper. The harder the sharecropper worked, he would earn a better wage. Well, I want you to know my grandpa was a hard worker. And he managed to save enough money to buy 40 acres and build a 2-story farmhouse in 1914. But Maude never lived in that new farmhouse. No, at 14, she had already moved on. She lived her growing up years there in Danby, Missouri, down in the river bottom where her daddy farmed for the sharecropper, and that was in southern Jefferson County, Missouri. When Aunt Maude was near 80 years old, she had a longing to go back to that old home place. The house was still standing down there. It was, of course, empty forever, but my husband and I wondered if it might be a little strenuous on her. You had to walk a couple of miles down the railroad tracks to reach this homestead. Well, my family and Aunt Maude took that hike one Sunday afternoon. When we reached that old house, it looked pretty sad, let me tell you. It was a long walk, and we were concerned about the long walk back to the car. I'm telling you, though, when Maude saw that old house, she got a burst of energy. Then she wanted to walk farther, and we were all about bore out ourselves, and she led us back up this hollow, up behind the old house, Shard Hollow behind there, to a beautiful place with outcroppings and rock ledges. She said this was a place where she and her siblings, her brothers and sisters, always played house. She got a real faraway look in her eyes. I knew she was seeing something in her mind that we could not see. She looked at me and she said, "You know, Marylee, my mama was beautiful when we lived down here." She said, "Mama would give us the broken dishes that she broke and let us play with them on these rock ledges. This became our playhouse. We would put down moss for carpets and play pretend with the broken dishes. See that little wet weather creek over there?" She said that's where we got to play in the water after a big summer rain. Our long walk had opened Aunt Maude's memory bank. The following story she shared with us that Sunday afternoon. She remembered the daily train. This put a smile on her face. She said, "We knew that train's schedule." She said we'd run out there every day and wave at them. The engineers and conductors would be looking for us too, and they would blow that big whistle and we'd all be waving. They soon learned the number of children in our family. A cloth bag with a gift for each child was thrown from the train at Christmas time. Picking up coal that fell from the trains was a daily chore for the children. This helped warm that old sharecropper's house on those cold winter nights. She recalled all the hobos that they used to have back in those days. She said one of them chased her and Emma. They were returning from a 3-mile walk down to Rush Tire, Missouri. They'd gotten something from the store down there. She said he chased them, but she said we outrun him. And she said that we was really scared. But she said most of the hobos were just nice people, and she said we kind of looked forward to seeing them because you'd see some of the same ones every year. She said we'd always get to hear about their travels, what they'd seen from one year to the next. See that spot over there with bare ground kind of? She said that was where our old barn once stood. We kept our horse Dan in there. My sister Em and I would ride to Danby School 4 miles from down here. It was 4 miles right up there. Dan would always want to stop and eat certain weeds. I would let him, and Emma would fuss at me every time. I would always tell her, now Emma, if there was a bowl of potato salad along this road, I bet you'd want to stop and eat some of it too. We would ride the horse to the local blacksmith, Mr. Jim. Mr. Jim would board her horse, that while they went to school. I kind of stepped into her part, didn't I, here? We laughed and said, I guess that is where, she said, I got all my smarts in that little old one-room schoolhouse. Maude graduated from Danby School in the 8th grade. She was honored as the top student in Jefferson County. She received an award at Hillsborough in the county seat. That's pretty awesome, you know. After her graduation, she recalled how hard it was for her mama and daddy to let her go. But they knew she needed to continue that education because she was really a smart girl. She took with her a wardrobe of 2 blouses and 2 skirts. She attended Soldan High School up in St. Louis. She completed a business course in just 2 years. It was about this time she met a soldier boy. He was a friend of her Uncle Guy's. The two had just returned from World War I. Jack Davis was completely smitten by the beauty of this country girl. Those striking blue eyes and coal black hair. Maude was movie star beautiful. I got a picture of her I'm going to show you here in a little bit. They were soon married, and Maude remained the love of his life until his last breath in 1961. They were never blessed with children. Our parents shared my sister and me with them. We learned so much from them. They gave us a taste of city life and the finer things that was available in the city. Uncle Jack was a linotype operator for several different newspapers in St. Louis. The Post-Dispatch was one of them. He was also a ballroom dance instructor. How about that? At places like the Casa Loma Ballroom in St. Louis. I've even danced up there. How about that? He and his Maude looked like Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire on that dance floor. My sister recalled how Uncle Jack would teach her how to dance, but he'd put her feet on top of his and they'd dance. But he also taught her how to dance on ice skates in a form of ice skating, like on the ice. And Aunt Maude and Uncle Jack, they had a wonderful life together for nearly 40 years. Uncle Jack became ill when he was 60. Aunt Maude cared for him. She was always at his side until his last day. Maude also met with some hardships of health problems in her life. She had breast cancer at the age of 50, made a complete recovery. Guess what? She was challenged with breast cancer again at 60, a different kind. I remember all these. When the doctor told her this, she looked him straight in the eye and said, well, doctor, do whatever you got to do. But I want you to remember, You won't be the only one just wearing shorts out there cutting your grass in the backyard. I'll be out there too. I will be cutting the grass just in my shorts. I think it was just that spirit that helped Maude conquer the obstacles of life. That little one-room country school, the education Maude got at Soldan High School opened doors for her clerical career. Let me tell you, she climbed that ladder from one job to another. She continued advancing to a better job. One of those was working in the small arms plant out at Weldon Springs, Missouri during World War II. She progressed on to a huge Clayton law firm as a legal secretary. Maude was highly, highly respected. I remember these people, and I remember how much respect they had for her, that firm. But Uncle Jack's long illness had depleted their savings by the time he passed on. Maude was now 61 years old, and she could retire in a few years. But she pulled herself up by the bootstraps and hit the ground running. She threw herself into the following job and didn't retire until the age of 77. She ran 5 huge corporations for one of the largest real estate companies in St. Louis. She lived another 35 years after Uncle Jack passed on. But she didn't look for nor ever find a replacement for him. I can still see her sporting her new LTD Ford, dressed in the stylish pantsuit or whatever was the latest style. She always had a way of capturing every eye when she walked into a room. Am I proud of her? You bet I am. But I didn't always see eye to eye with Aunt Maude. Ooh, she said things that hurt me and was not always fair with me. I now look back on those times when she really did hurt me. I believe it helped build my own character. I always knew deep down that she always loved me. Her life has served as a role model for me to follow. Aunt Maude and Uncle Jack lived life to the fullest. I wish I could tell you all the stuff that I was able to do with them. They made a lot of money, and boy, they spent a lot of money. But she still managed to squirrel back a few dollars. She passed these on to my sister and me. This served as a good down payment on the building I'm sitting in right now, a place we call Earth Mother. Thank you, Aunt Maude. You gave me the spirit and the path that has enabled me to be blessed with helping hundreds of other people. She was also an inspiration for me in my devout faith. She had such a devout faith. I followed her path there too. She was not only my aunt, but also my godmother. By the way, folks, I wanted to tell you one other thing. I attended that same little one-room schoolhouse too for the first 6 years of my life. Now here are her pictures. This is Edna Maude when she graduated from the 8th grade prior to just leaving to go to St. Louis. These pictures here are of her. Right here, look how movie star beautiful she was. She was just beautiful. The picture right up here, this one, is when she was working at the small arms plant in Weldon Springs, Missouri during World War II. The little picture, you can't see it very well, but it's the same school that she attended 8 years and I went to 6 years, the Danby Schoolhouse. I hope you've enjoyed our Mary Edna Maude story. I'll be bringing you another one probably next week.